This is the Brandon Smith Show. I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, that is to help you live a life that much more free from dysfunction. And for today, our topic is, by the way, before we even jump into our topic today, I have my wonderful producer, Whitney Mendoza. See, Whitney, I'm starting off the new year with compliments.
Barely.
What do you mean, barely?
Almost just skipped right over it there.
But you were going to be part of the show anyway. It wasn't like I could get away from you.
Thank you.
But I'm thankful for that. I'm really happy about that.
Blessed.
Hashtag blessed. So our topic today, so I'll open with our topic and then we'll kind of start to ease in because I've got a couple updates that I want to share with some folks.
Yeah, one glaring.
Thank you very much. We'll talk about the glaring update in 1 second. So our topic today is we're going to talk about clarifying and setting expectations with your manager early in 2018. Now, this is really important, particularly for all of you listening that were unhappy with your annual bonus at the end of the year. I've had a lot of clients and folks reach out to me and say, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. And I totally get that. At this point, there's no real opportunity to fix that. But what we can do is we can pre-wire it for 2018. So we get what we want and really set that up well. We got to do that early on. Okay, so that's going to be our topic for today. So we're going to jam on that. But before we do that, I got a couple updates. So my first update, I got a puppy. Whitney. We got a puppy. My family got a puppy. We already have an awesome dog. Her name's Ellie. She's an 85-pound Humane Society rescue, and she's part boxer, part Rottweiler, part cattle dog. She is an awesome dog. And so we saw this little guy at the Humane Society, and he looks just like Ellie. And we said, all right, we're going to get him. So we got him, he's 6.5 pounds. He's now about 12 pounds. His name is Walter. Walter the puppy.
I kind of like it. It has the best name ever.
Walter.
Okay, wait. I have to say.
But that doesn't address the glaring.
Well, that was not the glaring. This general area is the glaring. But for those of you who are watching, and if you're listening only, you should go to Facebook.
There's some things you'll want to. There's one thing you should see. You might find interesting, entertaining, and the other thing that is I'm feeling that I may not want you to see, but I'm
going to explain it.
Is my nose. Something I've learned with
Walter
puppies.
Went to town.
Yeah.
Walter
went to town.
Had it out on Brandon's nose. I'm sorry.
So if you're unfamiliar with puppies are fantastic. They have these little needly puppy teeth. Okay.
I knew this.
And when they're really, really in play mode, what you shouldn't do is what I did, which was, he's so cute. I'm going to get my face right down next to his face. And he just chomped down on my nose. So my nose is it's a little wounded at the moment.
I thought Brandon came in and had like red pen.
Yeah.
His nose.
It's puppy gashing on my nose. So
yep.
Can
you
all
zoom
right.
in on that?
No, do not do that, Isaac.
Okay.
Do not zoom in on my nose. I think the description is plenty fine enough. Needless to say, puppies are awesome. Don't stick your nose in front of a puppy. It's your little...
Can't wait to meet you,
Your service announcement for the day. My second update is if you're not watching, you should watch for this. My family got me for Christmas, they got me a bobblehead of me. So I am holding a bobblehead of me. He is in a blue suit and he is bobbling in agreement. And I think he looks pretty fantastic, though Whitney is throwing shade at the bobblehead of Brandon, which you shouldn't do. He does not approve.
Well,
he's now disagreeing with you.
I think the bobblehead is awesome.
I think you prefer the bobblehead. Where's the butt? What? I don't.
Well, here, let's look
touch
at
the bobblehead.
This general region right here.
She's messing with the hair. She says he has more hair than me. I am offended. Yeah. So, if you're listening to the show, I encourage you to check out and see the Brandon bobblehead for yourself and decide if it is more. I personally think the bobblehead looks a lot like me if you took me and Dick Van Dyke and blended them together. And for those of you that's an old school reference, if you've ever seen the movie Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke plays like the chimney sweeper guy. So it kind of looks a little more like Dick Van Dyke and me combined, but I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it works. I
So-
can see that. Can we order these?
Order more of that
I
one.
think everyone needs a Brandon Smith bobblehead doll.
That could be frightening. But that's not bad. We could do that. I'm sure we could make that happen. Be something real nice. All right, so enough of our segueing. We should jump into this topic, Whitney. So I gave you a little bit of a teaser. I'm just finding this has been a really big deal for a lot of my clients. They're coming back to me and they're saying, hey, I worked really hard in 2017. I mean, who didn't? And by the way, I would also say, on a side note, I haven't found one person yet. Maybe you're listening right now and you're out there. Email me, send me a text, talk to me on Twitter, send me a direct message. I will say I've not found one person out there yet who says 2017. I love 2017. I want more 2017. I haven't found that.
Yeah, it wasn't my personal best year.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't.
A lot happened in 2017.
It did happen. There was some good that happened for you, and I know there was some not so good that happened for you.
Yeah.
So I just haven't had too many people. And for me, 2017 was, I mean, it was a great year in many ways, but it was a hard year. Boy, just hard.
Yeah.
I was really worn out.
That
by
about
December
sums it up,
1st.
I think.
So I'm looking for 2018 to be a little different. So I have had a lot of clients that came back and said, yeah, 2017, I worked really, really hard. I was exhausted, got my bonus, and wah, 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 wah. Is that how it goes? Is that the Price is Right? Wah, 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 wah. And they said it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted at all. I was expecting a lot more, and it was just kind of, eh. And so then their question to me is they say, well, I want to do something about this. Like, should I go talk to my boss about this? And I'm a little bit on the fence about that. What are your thoughts? What do you think, Whitney?
My question to you is how do you bring this up to your boss? How do you walk in? Hey, I want to have a meeting with you. Didn't get what I expected over the Christmas break, and I want to know what it takes to get there in 2018. That seems like a awkward conversation to bring up.
It is. So let's put on our personal relationship hat for a minute, okay? So let's say your significant other got you something for your birthday, and it wasn't what you wanted. There are two ways you can approach that. You can go back and say, of course, naturally, when you get it and you open it, you go, oh, thank you. This was great. Thank you so much, right? You could go back a couple of days later and say, hey, you remember when I said that was great? I really wasn't great. I was really unhappy. You really disappointed me. How do you think that would go over? Oh, Isaac was just like,
Awkward.
Awkward. Not good, right? So if we use that same mindset, you really don't want to do that with your boss. It makes your boss say, because remember, you worked really hard in 2017. Odds are your boss, she or he did too. They're really exhausted. They feel like they did everything they could. So you're coming back and saying, hey, your best is not good enough. So I really would encourage you not to have that conversation. Rather, let's make this positive and focused on the end of 2018. And by the way, it's not like they can go back and reverse that bonus pool. That's not going to happen. Okay, what's fixed inside companies is fixed inside companies. Now, you want to break that, there's another option, and that is go out and get yourself another job. I find, we can talk about that in a little bit. I find people that have counter job offers or go leave, then all of a sudden, those banks open up and they have access to more money. But as long as you're staying inside the company, what's done is done. So I'd rather you focus it more on 2018 and say, hey, I am super excited for 2018. I want to get on your calendar, and I want to talk about what you would like my performance to look like. And specifically, my goal is I want my bonus to be here. So what would you want to see from me to get my bonus here? This year it was here, and that was great, and I'm appreciative of that, but I really want my bonus here. That's my goal. And what would you want to see from me?
So in a sense, when we go into that meeting, we kind of don't really want to say anything about the previous year. No,
I think it can be unspoken but understood that it was not what you were expecting, but you're framing it more in, okay, it is what it is. It's done. Now I want to talk about the end of 2018. Super excited for this year. What would you want to see from me to guarantee I get this?
Okay. Are there some things that we should have prepared before we go into this meeting? Like, I'm almost thinking in a way of having like stats to back yourself up. Like, this is what we did, comparing your goal last year versus where you want to go now and what you're doing on your side to get you there.
Yeah, great thought. And I think, yes, you want to bring in some things. But remember, this isn't so much like a performance review conversation where you're really discussing the past year. This is really about excitement, opportunity. You're focusing on the next year.
Okay.
So you can talk about that past stuff if it relates to next year. So also be prepared for this. Your boss or manager, remember, dysfunction lies in the gray. So they may be one of those types that would rather not be very black and white because they can then do whatever they want. They may just say, hey, just do kind of your thing. I'm sure it'll work out great. If you leave the conversation with something like that, you'll get the same bonus as you got last year, maybe less. And that's a horrible outcome. Never let that kind of fuzziness sit. So come back and say, well, hey, how about this? If I did this next year, so this year I did this, next year, what if I do this? So 2017, I did this. 2018, let's say I do this. What do you think? Is that worth this kind of extra bump and bonus? And get them to say yes. Get them to agree. And then as best you can, you want to try and follow up with that in some kind of a concrete way. So we can talk more about that. But make it clear. So have something to present to them, but get them to react to. I think that's really important.
Okay. I'm assuming that probably also has the right questions you want to ask. Like when you go, before you sit down in front of your boss, you need to have XYZ questions on your list that you have prepared to ask your boss.
Yeah, that was always good to ask questions. You know me.
You have to know the right ones, though, because I think that's the thing. I think a lot of it maybe has to do, especially in these sticky situations, to where in your mind, or maybe I should say your heart, what you want to ask, and then you have to reframe it before you go into your boss. Oh gosh, here it comes.
The Brandon Head bobblehead is bobbling. Yes, he agrees that there are some right questions you should ask, and I'm going to give you those set of right questions right after the break.
After the break.
After the break.
What's that? Oh, he says I'm cool.
That's not what he said. He said, stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break, and then we'll dive into what are the specific questions you need to ask your boss, because you want to leave that meeting not only with clarity around what you need to do, but a commitment. You like that? Clarity and commitment. Commitment on the bonus, so you can get what you feel like you deserve for 2018. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is Brandon Smith. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. It is the season of family and hopefully not family dysfunction. And it's also that time of year that if you're anything like me, you're planning for the next year. You're thinking about, how can I set next year up to be really, really awesome? Well, I want to help you with that. If you haven't downloaded one of my workbooks on workplace happiness, I'm going to offer a special gift to all my listeners that if you download one of those books, use the promotional code NEWYEAR, all one word, New Year, either uppercase or lowercase, and you can receive over 50% off any of my 3 workbooks. So whether you're looking for the right job, you could download that workbook, or the right culture, or the right boss. All of them, the promo code will work. So consider that my gift to you as you get ready for the new year, and let's make this next year, 2018, a great one. Welcome back to the Brandon Smith Show. This is your host, Brandon Smith, and today we're talking about how do you set yourself up for success in 2018, specifically to make sure you get that end of the year bonus that you feel like you deserved in 2017 and didn't get. So Whitney, when we went to break, you hinted that there might be some sets of kind of great questions.
Yes.
And the Brandon Smith bobblehead agreed.
Yes.
That there is.
Brandon number 2.
Brandon
agreed.
number 2 agreed. So what do you think? Any questions that come to mind for you? I've got some.
Well, something that comes to my mind is, I've always been taught kind of make it about the company. So perhaps something instead of how can I get this raise, this bonus that I didn't get last year because I want a bonus. Maybe make it more about what are our goals for the company this year? What is my role in that? How can I help you get there? Is that good?
Folks, she is a co-host for a reason. That is real nice, Whitney.
Okay.
Real nice. Excellent.
All right. Good.
I love that. And she's exactly right. Make it about the company and even make it about your boss. So remember, in the mindset of today in the workplace, you should always, first of all, never think of yourself as an employee. Always think of yourself as a company of one. And your number one client and your sole client is the company you work for. So you should be always asking questions of what are your goals and needs and expectations, and how can I help you get there? And so in that vein, I think that can be the starting question. You can start with that or make it early on in the conversation. So it's a two-parter. You'd say, let's talk a little about the company. Where's the company going and how I can align my efforts to get there? Mm-hmm. And then more specifically, boss, what are your goals? What are you looking for? How can I help you get there? What's under your purview and what are expectations for you? Mm-hmm. So you can align your work efforts to help her get where they need to go or help him get where he needs to go. So really make it about them. So say, okay, and you can say, so I would say that's kind of question number one. Before I jump into question number two, question number one is understand the landscape around you. What are the goals and needs of the company and the boss? Okay, so you're one for one. Do you want to go for another question?
To ask the boss?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let's see how she's doing, folks.
Well, I guess
I think you can do it.
Let me ask you this in a little bit of reverse of what we just talked about. Is it appropriate? Is it a good move to ask your boss how, like, for example, how can I specifically improve?
You know, she's a co-host for a reason. I think that was an excellent question. I think that's
number
great.
two?
Yeah, that's number two. I would take down that. I would go down that vein and go a little bit deeper, and say, let's now reflect on last year for me, and here was what I delivered. What would you like to see me? And this is where you use the classic stop, start, continue. What would you like to see me start doing? What did I not do that you'd like to see me do? What would you like to see me stop doing? Is there something I did that you said, yeah, that's not as helpful or productive or as necessary? It was getting in our way, or maybe just not where you need to devote your time. And then continue doing. What'd you see from last year that you really liked? So you're really getting them to put down in words and reflect on last year and say, stop, start, continue.
I like that.
So we start with the company and the boss, and then we say, okay, now let's talk about me and last year, and what do you want to see either more of or different, which is the stop, start, continue. Okay, so there you've got two good sets of questions with some sub-bullets under each. Okay, all right.
I should stop there while I'm ahead.
That's pretty good. I'm going to let you stop while you're ahead.
Okay,
Unless you want to try for another one, or are you going to stop?
I'm gonna pass. I felt those are really
she did great, folks. She did great.
Two good ones.
So then now actually we get into tactical. So now you've done this. You've got the boss to agree. Here are the goals. Here's what you did last year, and here's what I'd like to see differently from you and how you can tie into it. So they've given you some real good clarity on expectations. Now let's talk about accountability and communicating that.
So this is like following up.
Yeah, this is where you say, all right, so okay, when would you like to have touch-based conversations about this? Because I want to make sure that you and I are connecting and I'm meeting your expectations. Given you laid this out really, really clearly, that way I know, A, am I meeting your expectations? And B, has anything changed? Because realistically, we can say the goals are today on January, whatever it happens to be, but things could change by March or April. You know, the world's changing so fast. The goals could change quickly. So I would set that up. I would recommend and prescribe at least quarterly 30-minute touch bases. Okay, so that's 4 times a year. So that way you can talk sometime around tax day, April 15th. You can put one in the calendar and say, let's do 30-minute. It can be a phone call or it can be in person, but it's just 30 minutes. Really, really, really important that you ask for 30 minutes. Okay, I didn't say ask for an hour. If you ask for an hour, there's a 50% probability or higher it's going to get bumped.
Right.
Ask for 30 minutes or less. You can get that on their calendar. And it can just be a phone call. Say, I just want, and you put it on you send them an Outlook invite right after this meeting, by the way, for the next one. So it's on your calendar. And it just says, touch base on aligning expectations or expectation alignment or some other kind of phrase around that. So you can say, all right, how am I doing? Is this meeting your goals? Anything changed? And you can give them a report. And so in preparation of that meeting, I would be prepared to have, maybe a 1-pager that you could send them ahead of time. Just say, here's what we talked about on January, whatever, and here's kind of how I'm tracking on those things. And if you wanted to be really geeky, you could even do a stoplight format, which is green light for stuff that's doing really well, yellow light for stuff that's not quite in line, and then red light for stuff that maybe isn't tracking where it needs to be tracking. But I think this is a good way for you to kind of communicate to them, here's how I'm doing. And that not only builds trust with them, they really appreciate that, but you carry that all the way through to Q4. And by the end of Q4, you got all green lights. And the objective of this was to get you that big bonus. If they don't deliver, then you can say, thank you very much. This was a great experience, and I'm leaving. So, but this is really important to kind of pre-wire what you want for the year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question.
Shoot.
Would there be any, say, negatives to having this conversation with your boss?
The only negatives, no. Generally speaking, clarity eliminates dysfunction. The only negative is if your boss doesn't want you to drive clarity. So there are a politician, they play favorites, you get a sense they don't like you, whatever it happens to be, then they're not going to be into this conversation. I still think you need to have it. I think it's really good hygiene, because if there ever comes a point where you leave or you're going to raise the flagpole up to either their boss or HR and say, I got this issue, their boss or HR is always going to ask you, well, what conversations have you had with your boss? And you need to be able to say and document, I had the following conversations to try and set expectations. They were uncooperative. They would not cooperate with me. They wouldn't give me clarity on expectations. So this is kind of where we left it. And as a result, I'm leaving, or whatever happens to be. Now, just to make this, again, I hit this point earlier in the podcast, but I want to hit it again. In the modern workplace today, no matter how much pressure you put internally, it's not going to move the needle like leaving. People are not getting rewarded for staying and being loyal. I had lunch with a colleague of mine and friend yesterday, and he was talking about how he had been with the same organization for years, well over a decade, and just didn't feel a certain level of appreciation, and he was a rock star, delivered great, and he left to pursue another opportunity. And as soon as he left to pursue another opportunity, everyone in his industry started asking him, saying, hey, would you be interested in a job? I got a great job. And he said, at one point I was applying for a job. It was kind of a sales leader job. And they said, actually, you know what? This is a good job for you, but really we'd like to offer you more of an executive level job. And his company that wasn't appreciating him came to him and said, hey, look, we'd love to get you. We want to hire you back. Almost anything you want. So you have a lot more. If you're a rock star, you have a lot more value on the marketplace than you do inside your company over time. So just be aware of that too. One of the best ways to apply pressure is get a counter offer externally. A lot of people don't like to do that, and I wish that wasn't the case today, but it is what it is. It's a great way to kind of get what you kind of deserve and earn. There's a thing called salary compression, which is the idea that the longer you stay inside an organization, getting those 3% incremental raises, that the marketplace outpaces the people inside the company. So when you go out and hire someone externally and bring them in, you have to pay them more than the people who've been there who have more tenure. I had a consulting firm that actually it was a group of consulting firms several years ago, and they came and recruited at Emory's Business School. And because the market got so hot, they were hiring senior consultants. So these are fresh MBA graduates at a higher salary than the managers they were going to report to.
Oh, wow.
So these brand new senior consultants, never been in consulting before, are reporting to managers who've been in consulting for 3 or 4 years, maybe even more, and are going to make more money than the person they're reporting to. That's salary compression. So there is benefit hitting the market. So I think don't exclude that either. If you don't think you're going to get that bonus at the end of the year for other reasons, do a little bit of dating on the side. No bad thing. No bad thing.
Okay. I think that's a shaking no.
No, he agrees
Maybe.
with me.
I don't know. I kind of saw it this way, not this
agrees.
way.
My bobblehead always agrees with me. My puppy doesn't always agree with me, other than he agrees.
Obviously.
He agrees he likes my nose.
Okay, so real quick.
Okay.
what if you're new? What if you're starting a new job and you don't really have like history, if you will, to go based off of? What are some things we can do if we're brand new, fresh in a job to, for lack of a better word, get noticed? So that when we come to the end of 2018, situation's already looking pretty good.
That's a great question.
I'm on top
You
of
brought
it
your
today.
A game today, Whitney.
Dominate 2018.
She brought her A game, folks. It's a brand new year. It's a brand new year.
New year, new me.
New year, new me. You stole that? Who did you steal that from?
Everybody.
Is that Oprah? Is that Ellen DeGeneres? I don't know.
Well,
Ellen?
a little bit. Your
Somebody.
brother, but
Okay, so Whitney's question. You're brand new to an organization. Do everything I've already said. Okay, so you go back and
So schedule
listen
meetings?
to the podcast again. So you set the meeting up with your
Wow,
manager.
okay.
What are the goals for the company? What are the goals for you? Clarify the goals there, right? They're your customer. They're your client, your service provider. That's first. Second, let's talk about maybe you don't have a history of your performance, but you can talk about when you hired me or in this role before, what would you want to see stop, start, or continue? So maybe think about the person who was in this role before or how this role has changed. And when you thought about bringing me in, what would you want to see? Okay. And then you still set up those meetings. So let's talk about making sure I'm meeting your expectations. All that's really important. There's one more thing you got to do if you're new.
okay.
Ask that manager, give me the name or names of rock stars around here. People who are rising stars who just do it the right way around here. Remember, in any organization, whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, there's performance and there's culture. And you can have performance, but if you're not doing it the culturally right way, you lose. So you want to make sure you find out who those rock stars are that do it the culturally right way. So you know both how to perform, but also the right way to do it. So you get the list of those 2 names and you reach out for coffee and say, hey, I just want to pick your brain. Several people have told me, in fact, my boss told me, you're kind of a rock star around here. I'd love to hear about kind of what you do and what goes on in your head. And not only that, but what I shouldn't do. What are the things I should do and shouldn't do to make sure I'm setting myself up well? Because if you're new, you're establishing your brand. Your reputation is still very kind of gooey. And you don't want it to get hardened early on around a bad event. Like, oh yeah, she made that thing in that meeting that didn't go well, or missed that deadline, or whatever it was. You don't want that to happen because you'll have to fix that, and repairing a brand takes a long time. So you want to come right out of the gate with a really strong brand and maintain it. So that will give you the cultural perspective you may not get from your manager. Great question. Awesome. This was a good show. Thank you, Whitney.
No problem. Here to help.
Helping people right out of the gate, getting 2018 right, getting the bonus that you deserve. I like that. Okay. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us today. Always follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or of course, listen to the show on iTunes, and you can catch new show, 9:30 p.m. on Sunday Eastern on Facebook.com/Brandon Smith, WPT for Workplace Therapist. And of course, follow us on Twitter at the WP Therapist. So at the WP Therapist for Workplace Therapist. iTunes at BrandonSmithShow.com. And if you just want to get some more resources, just Google The Workplace Therapist. You'll find me. I would say I'm the only one, but now that there's a bobblehead of me, there's 2 of us. So you'll find me or the bobblehead. And until our next show, have a great week and an awesome life.